Hey guys, what's up? We're gonna start flowing with this. Hopefully this works out. I don't do this usually. I'm gonna probably do more of my videos like this in the future, although I'll probably be more like to one side. I don't know what side, and have like a picture. A picture. So yeah, I gotta practice. But I gotta practice looking into the camera too, because I have a habit of wanting to look at myself in the screen, but I can't do that because I'm talking to you guys. So hopefully the audio is good. I'm using this because my hair is a mess here. Like it's like stringing out and stuff is happening. I'm not like this is not good. This is not a good look anyway. But hey, we're working with it, and I should probably the background. See over there. There's gonna be a desk eventually one day, and we'll be good to go. And this will actually work, and life will be good, and there'll be a background that'll be set up. But for now, we're doing it this way, and I wanted to talk about YouTube's copyright, content ID rules and stuff like that a little bit more, but I didn't want to put it over gameplay. First of all, because I don't have the gameplay to go with it. Second of all, because it's a gameplay issue, but it's not a game. Like, I don't know if it should be. It's more of a personal and business side of things that kind of, although the gameplay is the business, I feel like it should be separate. I don't know. So I feel like my arms need to be in here because I feel like I do a lot of hand motions, but I have to put them up here if I want them in the shot because like even this is as high as they get without raising them. Let's see, back out one more. No, that feels too far. Okay, we're coming back in. I'll just raise my hands. I'll sit up. Nope, I can't sit up. My head will go off the screen. I'm sorry, I haven't done this, and I haven't really practiced it. But anyway, so YouTube's content ID identification system that they've relaunched. It's always been there, but they've relaunched. Has been a little bit hypersensitive, and I've seen a lot of stuff where companies are falsely claiming things they don't own. I've seen companies having stuff claimed that they do own, but they didn't mean to. Like the system is automated, so yes, companies can go in and they can actively say, "Hey, that video, I want that one specifically down. It wasn't caught by the robot. We want it taken down." They can do that. But a lot of what happens is the automated system. And what YouTube has been doing is the multi-channel networks that, are big on YouTube, like Machinima, like the Game Station. I don't know if they're still around, but like, those kind of full screen, those kind of networks. What YouTube is doing is they had originally said, hey, you guys, you control this, you police this. This is your stuff. You partner channels, you manage those channels, and those are the channels that you're in charge of. Well, what happened is the network started to partner a bunch of channels. And when that started to happen, they were unable to self-police. They were unable to keep up with all the different people and all the different stuff they were doing. They just can't see all of it at once. It's impossible for them to be in charge of all of it. And the reason like YouTube probably originally designated it to them was so that they could manage it because YouTube couldn't do it themselves. Well, the networks didn't do necessarily a very good job of it, and now YouTube is running all that stuff back through what appears to be a new updated content ID system to try and catch stuff that they may have missed the first time around that, companies want taken down. Things like music, things like that. So what happens is now it's being run back through this machine, and before we were you could still get a content ID match if you really broke the rules, but for the most part with games, you wouldn't get one. That would, a company would have to personally come and say, hey, that video, I want that down, for it to be taken down for gaming. That was pretty much how it worked. I mean, there were exceptions, I guess, like, there was a music company who I don't remember the name of. They're not significant. Like, it wasn't a Universal or a Sony. It was I forget their name. I wish I had something that like referred back to them, but I don't think I do anymore. But they came around for a while, for like a week or two, and they were claiming like all kinds of Call of Duty videos that they just didn't own. Like they weren't claiming like that they owned the theme music or anything like that. Like it was like a multiplayer game where I was talking something like this. It's just the gameplay was there, and sometimes the game was muted, and like they were just claiming them all. And eventually, we all disputed them, and we all won and got the video back and under our control. But sometimes things like that happen where companies go around and do that. But for the most part, being with a network meant that you were protected from the content ID thing. Like it would have to be done manually by a company saying, hey, we don't want that up there. And so now that seems to have changed. Now it seems like the system is either more sensitive or no one is safe anymore. Um, from what I understand, there are going to be different categories for people, two different categories. I don't know if I'm how specific I can get with this, but one of them is going to stay the same, and one of them is going to be a lot different. One of them is going to be more like you were just, monetizing through YouTube. You weren't even part of a network. So that category is weird because it's pretty much taking away the whole benefit of being with a network. That you're basically back out on your own, and you just owe some of the money to the network. And I mean, the networks promise things like promotion and things like this, and special things that they're gonna do. Like when we were sent Need for Speed last year for free, we were instructed to make videos about it, but we were sent it for free. They say that those are the things they offer. Well, anyone will tell you that doesn't happen all that often. I mean, maybe for the bigger channels, but even then, I mean, you don't see extremely large channels working with their network very often. It's just not a thing that goes down. So, it's a weird place, and it's like the networks kind of got themselves in this place when they went out of their way to partner a bunch of channels. And I think I was right before I was before the real craze, like the crazy craze that we're in now, but I was before the beginning craze, because back when it started, uh, people like Machinima, the game station, they didn't want to partner individual channels. They wanted nothing to do with it. And part of it was probably because they didn't want to inherit the risk, because part of being a multi-channel network is you manage the channels, you inherit the risk of what those people do, and without overseeing them one by one, you really don't know what's happening. So, Machinima has Respawn, they have Sports, they have those other channels. They know what's going up there. They did it in-house for the most part, or they at least screened it before it went up. When you start partnering people like me and, just individual channels, you have less control. The person still controls their account. They're still in charge of the actual upload process. So you have less control. You don't really know what's happening. You know to some extent, but I mean, you can't guarantee that people aren't going to do things they're not supposed to do. So, they didn't want to do it. They eventually caved, and I was right in that. I wasn't the first group. Like, the first group, I would say, were people like Optic Nation, Hutch. But I was that, like, second wave where, I got an email or a message. I think it was an email. That was an email I had listed on my channels about me or whatever. And they were like, hey, you want to partner with Machinima? And I was like, sure. That was cool. I really wanted to do that. I've been working towards that. I mean, when I started, there was no such thing. I wasn't working towards that. But when people started to get it, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I mean, it was cool, like the lore of like, oh, you can make money from this. But it was also, hey, I can say I'm with Machinima. Like, people want to be with Machinima. I want to be able to say I'm with them. And so I was that first wave because, all the complicated stuff got done. I was looking back. I think it was June of 2011. Oh, that thing just did a weird autofocus. Let me turn off autofocus because I just saw that when I looked up. Um, I think it was June. I think it was June of 2011. Maybe 2010. I don't know. It was the June of the year it was. And I had gotten the email from Machinima like back in February or January, like earlier that year, but the process took forever. Like I had signed up for months before, the coordination with YouTube got done to where my channel actually showed that I was partnered and things like that actually worked. So, the process back then was a lot different than it is now. It's a lot easier for them now, but back then I had to like email a guy at Google. Like I was part of this process with Anthony, who I don't think works there anymore. With Anthony, like Anthony came and he said, okay, you're going to get an email in a little bit from Google. You need to fill out this thing. You need to email them back. You need to do this thing. Then, Google would email Anthony and be like, hey, is this the guy and this is the page you want this done? And they'd be like, yes, that's the guy. And like it was this process it was something else. Now it's a lot easier. They just kind of like blah 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 blah. It's done. I don't know if I was supposed to tell you that, but fuck it. You know now. So if you guys want it down, anyone, just let me know. I'll take it down. But so that was the process back then, and it was easier to keep track. They could keep track of me, and it was easier. Now it's like I don't know what the fuck's going on. Everyone's doing everything all the time. it's a mess, honestly. It's a mess. It's hard to keep track of. I understand it's hard to keep track of, especially on YouTube's app, because, YouTube is kind of this, they're the middleman in the situation in a way. Like, there's, here, I got magnets that are, I don't know. I was going to say magnetic balls, but I didn't think I should say that out loud, but now I did. So I got magnetic balls and a pencil pen thing. So there's the guy who made the content over here, Magnetic Balls, man. Magnetic Balls Corporation. And there's the network. And then I guess behind the network is you, but we'll just say the network. So YouTube's kind of in the middle here where, the network, they didn't see it. YouTube has to enforce whatever Magnetic Balls Corporation wants. So they go over and tell the network, like, hey, we're getting in trouble with this Magnetic Balls Corporation because your network has something they don't want up there. So then the network's like, okay, well, I have too many channels to just go around individually and, like, email guys and, like, talk to them and even keep track of it. So why don't you solve it? So YouTube's solution was, okay, we'll just do whatever Magnetic Balls say and we'll take everything down. Fuck it. It's going down. Content ID is coming back, and it's coming back hard. It's going to fuck everyone in the ass. And now it's doing a lot of things it probably shouldn't be doing. There's definitely things it shouldn't be doing. Like, I saw, let me see. What, Video Copilot, is that the company's name? I think that's the company's name. Video Copilot, who has software, I'm trying to look it up right now, but I don't know how easy I'll be able to find this, but they have a software that you can create music that they let you use. Like, you buy it, I think it's $100. You buy it, and then you're supposed to be able to create music to use in YouTube videos with it. Like, it's an easy way to make music and stuff like that. Well, what happened is some other company went around and started claiming their stuff, like saying it was their own. So they had to then go to YouTube and be like, hey, that's our stuff. And so what happened is they got inputted into the content ID management system. So basically, they didn't say anything to YouTube before. And then this other company goes up there and says, hey, this is our stuff. We want to claim the content ID stuff on it. Well, they weren't actually the right company doing it. Or they made that up. They weren't the real people. So then the real people had to go there and input their stuff into content ID. So now what happens is every time you use their stuff, YouTube flags it because the robot says, hey, that's owned by these guys. So now this company has to manually go to YouTube and whitelist individual channels of their customers every time, because otherwise other companies will claim that stuff as their own by inputting their own content ID filings. So it's a total mess, and when you leave it to robots, this is what happens. Robots have no discretion. This company doesn't really want to flag the stuff, but they had to put their content on the content ID system so that other companies can't claim their content. Like, that's how ridiculous it is. They're forced into digital rights management that they didn't want because other companies were taking their content and claiming it as their own. Like, you know how dumb that is? So that's a lot what's happening with games, is companies, they have to put their stuff up there because they have to own it. Even if they don't mind other people using it, they have to own it, or someone else might say it's theirs. And then the system flags it by itself. And then they have to go through and they have to, go, okay, I didn't want that to be flagged. I didn't want that one flagged. I don't want that one flagged. They have to go take it off. And, YouTube's got to develop a way, if they don't already have this already, which I don't see why they wouldn't, but a way of companies claiming their stuff in the content ID system, but also not having the system flag the stuff when it's out there. Just like having it as a placeholder, like, hey, we're Activision, we own Call of Duty. Don't flag Call of Duty content, just we own it, just letting you know. It's in your system. In case someone else comes up and says, hey, we own Call of Duty, you can be like, no, we already got the guys who own that. We already know that. Just get the fuck out of here. Because, it's a mess. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. So, one last thing I want to kind of talk about is, what can they do? So there's a few things we need to have done, and I'm going to write them down here because I keep forgetting to say them all. I don't want to write on that. That's an important piece of paper. What's this piece of paper? Hang on. Oh, it's clubs and activities or something. I don't know. Some schools, something. Uh, so what do we want to talk about? I already forgot. See, this is why we can't. This is why we can't do this. Claim part. Hang on, I'm gonna write this down out loud. Claim part. And what was my other one? Make rules known. Okay, I got it. I got my notes. I should have taken notes before. I've already done this video, but I was gonna do it over gameplay, and then I realized I don't have gameplays, so I did it with my face again. I could have just lip synced it all, but I thought that would be weird. Um, I really should get the headset off. I wouldn't mind having a headset if it wasn't for this wire. This wire is ungodly. Anyway, I got my notes. I got my notes. I'm reading from my teleprompter. No. I should get a teleprompter. There's probably a program for that, right? There is. I know there is. I feel like my face is jittery, but I don't know if it's just this program, OBS. Anyway, if it's actually like that, I will have to fix that. I don't know why it would be doing that, but anyways. So, first of all, it's not fair for me, as the guy who doesn't own the music, we're going to use music as my example, to use their music in the video and then claim ads on it without paying them or getting permission from them. I get that. It's unfair for me to do that. Now, when it's unfair and when it's fair, I mean, you can argue about it, because if the music's in the game, it's weird when companies come and claim, like, the theme to that game because it's in the game. You want me to post the game, but not the theme music in the game. Like, that's okay. And if you don't want me posting the theme music in the game because maybe your agreement with the guy who made it is you can put it in the game, but you can't reproduce it or something like that. I don't know. Something we don't know that. So you gotta tell me that, because I can't be aware of all the rules about music, because, you know, Portal has the song at the end, but you know, we saved the day and blah blah, whatever the song is. And I played that, no one got mad at me, but you know, if I play this theme song and you want it down, it's like, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. And a great example of it is Grand Theft Auto. Like a rule that most of us know, but you shouldn't play music from Grand Theft Auto. Like, you should turn off the car radio when you're in the car, do things like that actively, I think you might be able to even just shut the music off in the settings, but, you know, get in the car, turn off the music, things like that, because that will get flagged usually. Whether the companies want it flagged or not is another whole argument that I don't even know. Like, I don't, you know, if Eminem's song is in NBA 2K14, it is, you know, and I was at the menus and I got flagged for it, I think Universal owns his music, but would Universal want his music, like, they really want that video down, or did the system just flag it? I don't know. You'd have to ask them, and I'm probably never going to get an answer from them exactly on that. So, but what I was saying is say I get in the car in GTA and I drive down the street for 15 seconds, Eminem's song is playing. Well, how is it fair for that company, which is what happens, to claim the entire video? Because they claim all the ad revenue on that video as soon as my content ID is matched to them. So I don't get any money. YouTube gets money. I don't get any money anymore. And this other company gets money, like Universal. How is it fair that they get all the money? So, just like it wasn't fair for me to claim ad revenue on their song that I didn't credit them with, it's now fair for them to claim ad revenue on my video that they only have they don't have credit for the rest of what I did. They only have credit for that part. You know, like if right now my phone started playing a song because it was my ringtone, and then I answer it in 10 seconds, do they own this whole video, this whole conversation I've had? No, that doesn't seem fair either. This is my copyright. This is mine. I own this. I own my voice. I own my face. I own all this talking I've done. But now they're collecting revenue on all of it because my phone rang for 10 seconds. So YouTube needs to develop a way where either one of two things happens. One, which I think would be the easiest one, if something is found playing that shouldn't be, you can mute the audio until it stops. So YouTube has a system right now where, like, sometimes if it's really bad, it'll replace the audio with a whole nother song that YouTube does own the rights to. Basically, that system, instead, you mute it, basically. So for 15 seconds or 10 seconds or whatever it is, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, it'll just mute it. There'll be no sound, and then the sound will kick back in. I think they could do that. I mean, they're able to blank the whole thing. They're able to give me the timestamp of the content ID issue, so combining the timestamp with the ability to blank the whole thing, you just need the other timestamp for when it stops. So I feel like that would be easy. It will take a little bit of work, but not a ton, I don't think. If it's on screen, like if it's a clip you don't want seen, you blank the screen, whatever. Or maybe you blank the screen and the sound whenever a content ID thing comes up just to make it easy. I don't know. That's one option. The other option is somehow split the revenue. So, you know how the ad's probably showing like here and it's showing off to the side, or probably this side? This side, I think. Okay, there we go. We're getting better at this. This side. But, so it's probably showing off to this side, and probably was right here at least for part of it, if not the whole thing. They get whatever money that makes and this makes for the 15 seconds that their stuff was shown, or heard, or whatever it is. Now, you may be like, that's like breaking a penny in half, and then giving them like 1/8 of a penny. It is! But you know what? There's no reason you get all of the money either. Like, you get what you earned, which is that 15-second block. And even then, we can argue whether or not you earned it depending on what it is. If it's a movie clip as part of a review and it's a clip from their trailer, I think it's weird that they claim it. I don't think that they totally own it. They own it, but they don't. Fair use comes in here, I think. Fair use is a complicated issue that I'm not going to talk about because fair use is a pain in the ass if you really want to discuss it. So I'm just not going to talk about it. But, claim that part of the video. The other part of what companies need to do, game companies and music companies and movie companies and all these companies, make your rules clear. If you don't want me showing your single player, put it on your website, put it on your Twitter, put it everywhere so that I can look it up and I can say, hey, those are the rules. Because if I can't say that, what do? I don't know what you don't want shown. There are companies who are like, don't show the cutscenes. If you want to play the single player, you want to post parts of the single player, go ahead, don't show the cutscenes. Okay, say that. If you're all good to go like Minecraft, say we're all good, do as you please. But don't be like, we're not telling you. Okay? Because two things happen when you don't tell us. One, if you have a problem with it, we're not aware of it until after it's already happened, and depending on what happens, if you get a strike against your channel, content IDs are different from strikes. Strikes are bad. If you get a content ID, they claim ad revenue on it, usually. But if you get a strike, you get 1 strike, 2 strikes, the 3rd strike, you're out. Your channel's gone, deleted, bye-bye. So strikes are really bad, and what's the difference? I mean, it seems pretty random to me. But, so we won't know before it happens. And the other thing is if it's okay with you that we post it, well, through this review process that happens, with content ID and stuff, YouTube usually asks you for written proof that you're allowed to do this. I can't show them written proof because I can't probably get it from the company because the company's probably just not going to talk to me. They don't know who I am. They're not going to see my email, whatever. Sorry, I've been talking for a while here. But they're not going to answer me, and I need to be able to provide written proof. And it would be easier for everyone if you just provide this information publicly. So if I get a content ID match and it's a problem, I can say, hey, on Activision's site it says I'm free to post whatever Call of Duty multiplayer I want. Or on EA's website I can post whatever Battlefield multiplayer I want. Or, for The Last of Us it says I can post both single and multiplayer content. Like whatever the rules may be. Make it clear so that A, I can prevent uploading things that break your rules so I don't get in trouble and I don't make you mad. I don't want to make you mad. Like, I'm not here to piss off publishers. I try to work with them. It's just sometimes it's like, I don't know if this is okay. I've seen videos on this game. They haven't seemed to have been in trouble. I mean, their last game, they were okay with it. I don't know. What's usually the policy on stuff like this? Like, showing the end of games is a lot of times a no-no with companies. So you shouldn't do that. But, I mean, if it's the middle battle sequence, I don't know, I think it's okay. Like, it would clear up that gray area so I don't have to make you mad and get in trouble for it. It would make it easier on the networks because the networks would then, they wouldn't have to necessarily watch people as closely because if people are blatantly breaking the rules, like putting full songs in their videos that they don't own and doing things like that, you shouldn't assign, first of all, you shouldn't assign them to your network. Like, you should have done a better vetting process. And second of all, kick them out. Because if they're doing stuff like that, you're gonna know. Like, YouTube's gonna come to you and be like, guys, he's uploading entire movies and like entire CDs. Like, get this guy out of here. We're done with him. They're gonna come to you. They're gonna tell you. You're gonna know. It's not that hard. But if it's like little things like trailers and stuff, if companies made their rules clear for every game, every time, I mean, it would be easier on the networks. They could let people do what they want. They could let people claim ad revenue as normal and as they have in the past. Everything would go back to normal. YouTube could lax the content ID match system for content that shouldn't be matched. And it would be, and if they do match it, you can, show the written proof that you're allowed to do it. It would be a lot easier on everyone. It would make a lot more sense to me. And that's my thoughts on it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I have the other audio clip which had other thoughts in it, maybe, which maybe I'll upload to, well, we'll see how this video goes. If people have questions and maybe I answer them in that one, I'll listen back to that one. Because I know I didn't touch on everything exactly the same this time, but it's impossible to say everything every time, because every time I do this I have new ideas and new things pop in my head, and I'm like a jumbled mess of shit that's going on. But last time I went into more about fair use. I know I did that, so fair use, I'll just go quickly on fair use. I'll try to keep it under 30 minutes. Fair use is, it's purposely vague because that's the best way to write a law like that. It's the best way to write most laws, but it's purposely vague in this case because they want to leave it open to, they wanted to leave it open to different things. Like, they didn't want to have to say, because, when they wrote it, it was a long time ago anyway, and things didn't exist, and YouTube wasn't a thing and stuff like that, but they didn't want to have to say, like, okay, you can make YouTube videos, you can make Twitter videos, whatever, you can make Vines, you can do this, like, all these complicated things. They wanted to be like, okay, if, it helps prove a point, and it's part of the content, but not the majority of the content, like, things like that, like, vague terms, so that people could interpret it for years to come with different mediums and different things like that. So, fair use to me, with, like, when it comes to things like reviews, which is really where fair use comes in a lot, I think fair use is, using small clips. A lot of it, like, you should probably stick to clips from the trailers. Definitely don't show ending or big plot twists or stuff, but, if you take clips from the trailers, you shouldn't be getting in trouble during a review. That's fair use. You're supposed to show part of what you're reviewing. It doesn't make sense not to. Like, what's the point of reviewing a game if I'm just going to sit here and do it like this? You can't see it. You're just taking my word for it now. Like, if I told you in BioShock, you have to beat small children, with a wrench, you don't have to beat small children with a wrench. You just don't. But if that was in the game, I can show it to you and be like, hey, look at the small children I'm beating with a wrench. But if I don't have it in the game, then you have to take my word for it now. How are you going to see it? So, like, fair use is small clips that, aren't showing the whole thing, aren't spoiling the whole thing, aren't going overboard, but are trying to help, make the point of your video, help your review make the point, Especially if you're using stuff from trailers, you should be good to go. And if the song is in the opening trailer from the movie and you show that, they shouldn't be claiming the song either, because that should fall under fair use. Fair use is complicated. If you want me to do a whole video on fair use, I will, but that's my general thoughts on it. Like, if I do a Game of the Year thing, which I'm kind of worried about doing now, because I don't know what's okay, what's not okay, what the content ID system will flag. I was going to do Game of the Year. I was just going to nominate a few things, show videos for the nominations, and then show gameplay while I talk about the winner and why I picked it. But, if I upload that, and then it's getting, that should be fair use, as long as I'm not showing the ending of games. I would probably just use the trailer and clips from the trailer anyway. But if I upload that, that should be fair use, and then if it's getting flagged for, having the trailer like that, to me is breaking the fair use law, and therefore I should be able to fight it, but it's hard to fight companies with tons of money. YouTube is always going to side with companies with tons of money, and the other reason that YouTube sides with them is because YouTube makes money whether the ad revenue gets paid to me or gets paid to whoever, Universal, Sony, whatever the fuck it is. So YouTube doesn't really care who gets the money as long as they get their money, which they already did. So it's kind of weird the way that works, where it's hard to fight them because they have a ton of money. YouTube doesn't really care because it doesn't matter to them who gets the money. It should, because the content creators will go away if they're not making money, but, you know, whatever. Anyway, I'm going to try to wrap this up. Hopefully, in the future, there will be more vlogs, or it's not really a vlog, it's more like a show. I was thinking of doing like a daily news kind of thing. But that kind of coincides with another project I'm working on that I'm not ready to talk about, even close to ready to talk about. But it's a multi-channeled approach to solving a lifelong problem where I want to cover multiple things, and it would be a show that'll probably be like a half-hour long, 10 minutes per subject, not per like individual subject, but per category, like games, golf, basketball, whatever. It's not going to be about golf and basketball, but and it would probably be like that. It would be in that area that's not set up because that whole thing has to be gone, and there's going to be a table, and that wall is going to be done over with stuff that I want behind me, and then the camera will be in the middle of the room, like behind me here, facing that way, and it'll all work out. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you don't mind my head more often. Like I said, in the future, I'll probably, if I'm going to do stuff more like this, I'll put pictures and things, and I'll move to one of the sides, and then there will be stuff next to me, hopefully. But this was just, I mean, there was nothing to show you, really. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Please leave comments below. I know it was pretty long, but in the future, they'll be shorter. Unless it's that big show, and then I'll annotate and timestamp. It doesn't matter. When that happens, it'll happen. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you later. I don't know how to end these. I gotta get an ending, like bang bang. No bang bang. Metal Balls Corp.